But the wedding rumors were only part of the story. The real shock came when reports surfaced claiming that Jack Antonoff and Margaret Qualley had decided to separate after nearly 3 years of marriage. For fans who had followed their relationship from the beginning, the news felt completely unexpected. The couple had built a reputation as one of Hollywood's most creative and low-key pairs, rarely inviting public drama into their private lives. That's exactly why the latest headlines caught so many people off guard. According to reports, sources close to the couple painted a complicated picture of where their relationship stands. One insider described the marriage as rocky, claiming the two had been arguing frequently in recent months. The source suggested that their demanding careers had placed increasing pressure on the relationship. With Margaret balancing a busy acting schedule and Jack constantly traveling, producing music, and spending long hours in the recording studio, finding quality time together reportedly became more difficult than either of them expected. However, the story didn't end there. A second source offered a much different perspective, saying the couple was still figuring things out. That comment immediately changed the conversation. Instead of treating the reports as the definite end of their marriage, many fans began wondering whether this was simply a difficult chapter rather than a permanent goodbye. Without an official statement from either Jack or Margaret, the true status of their relationship remains unclear, leaving plenty of room for speculation but very few confirmed answers. As entertainment outlets shared the news, social media reacted almost instantly. Some fans expressed heartbreak, saying they had admired the couple's quiet and supportive relationship. Others urged people not to jump to conclusions, pointing out that celebrity relationships often go through private challenges away from the spotlight. Until Jack or Margaret choose to speak publicly, much of the discussion remains based on reports from unnamed sources rather than direct confirmation from the couple themselves. Still, many fans couldn't help asking one question. If the relationship had really been struggling, were there warning signs that everyone had overlooked? As people started looking back over the past few months, one event stood out more than any other, and it happened during one of the biggest celebrity celebrations of the year. But if there was one moment that truly sent the internet into detective mode, it was Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's star-studded wedding celebrations. What should have been a joyful gathering of friends quickly became the center of an entirely different conversation. Instead of focusing only on the ceremony, fans found themselves asking one unexpected question: why wasn't Margaret Qualley there? Jack Antonoff's appearance at the wedding wasn't surprising. As one of Taylor Swift's closest friends and longtime collaborators, his attendance was almost expected. He was photographed arriving at the festivities alongside his sister, Rachel Antonoff, joining a guest list filled with some of the biggest names in entertainment. But Margaret's absence immediately caught the attention of fans who had grown used to seeing the couple support one another at major public events. At first, many people believed there was a simple explanation. Reports circulating online suggested Margaret was busy filming her upcoming movie, leading fans to assume work commitments had prevented her from attending. However, that theory quickly lost momentum when additional reports claimed she had already wrapped filming on King Snake in June and wasn't scheduled to begin her next project, Possession, until much later. While that doesn't confirm why she missed the wedding, it certainly fueled more questions than answers. Then another detail added even more intrigue. Photos from the celebration showed Jack arriving with his hands in his pockets, making it difficult for photographers to clearly see whether he was wearing his wedding band. That small detail immediately became a topic of discussion across social media. Interestingly, later reports noted that Jack was still seen wearing his wedding ring after news of the separation surfaced, leaving fans even more confused about the true status of the relationship. With no public explanation from either Jack or Margaret, online speculation grew rapidly. Some believed the wedding appearance was the first visible sign that the couple had already drifted apart. Others argued people were reading far too much into a single event, pointing out that busy schedules and private decisions don't always signal relationship trouble. Without official confirmation, both theories remain exactly that, speculation. But as fans continued searching for answers, many realized the wedding wasn't actually the first clue. Looking back over the previous few months, they began spotting subtle changes that suddenly seemed impossible to ignore. And that's when an entirely different timeline started to emerge. But once fans started looking back, many became convinced that the wedding wasn't the beginning of the story, it was simply the moment everyone finally started paying attention. Suddenly, small details that had once seemed insignificant were being viewed in a completely different light. Piece by piece, online detectives began building a timeline that they believe hinted at trouble long before the separation reports made headlines. One of the biggest talking points centered around Margaret Qualley's Instagram account. Back in April, observant fans noticed that she had quietly changed her username. Her previous handle, @Isamaster, appeared to reference Jack Antonoff's song, Isimo, a detail many followers had long associated with their relationship. When the username changed to @Sarah Margaret Qualley 23, some fans immediately wondered whether it symbolized a fresh start. Of course, Margaret never publicly explained the change, so any connection to her marriage remains purely speculative. Still, the timing was enough to keep people talking. Then music fans uncovered another interesting detail. Followers of Jack's band, Bleachers, noticed that the song, Margaret, which was inspired by his wife, had reportedly disappeared from the band's Bleachers Forever tour setlist. According to concert records, the last known performance of the song took place during the June 13th show. That discovery quickly spread across fan communities, with many wondering whether removing such a personal song carried a deeper meaning, or whether it was simply part of a routine setlist adjustment. Since neither Jack nor the band has commented on the decision, any interpretation remains unconfirmed. As these discoveries circulated online, older interviews, public appearances, and social media posts were suddenly being re-examined. Fans compared timelines, searched for subtle clues, and debated whether the couple had been quietly growing apart for months. Some believed the evidence formed a clear pattern, while others argued that people were connecting unrelated events after learning about the separation reports. It's a common reaction whenever a high-profile relationship makes headlines, and it shows just how quickly hindsight can reshape public perception. Even so, one discovery would soon eclipse every other clue. Fans visiting Margaret's Instagram noticed something they considered impossible to ignore, and it immediately reignited speculation across Hollywood gossip circles. What they found became one of the biggest talking points in the entire story. But if fans thought the changed username and missing song were enough to raise eyebrows, what happened next sent the speculation into overdrive. As news of the reported separation spread across entertainment outlets, thousands of people rushed to Margaret Qualley's Instagram page. Within hours, social media users began pointing out something they believed was impossible to ignore. According to multiple reports, Margaret had removed her wedding photos from Instagram and wiped nearly every visible trace of Jack Antonoff from her profile. For many fans, that instantly became the strongest public clue yet that the couple's relationship had changed. Screenshots comparing her account before and after the reported changes quickly circulated online, with countless users claiming the Instagram cleanup confirmed what the breakup headlines were already suggesting. However, it's important to separate confirmed observations from assumptions. While reports and fans noted that the wedding photos and other posts were no longer visible, Margaret has not publicly explained why those images were removed. Celebrities often archive, delete, or reorganize their social media for many personal or professional reasons. Without a statement from her, it's impossible to know exactly what motivated the changes. Even so, the timing made it one of the most discussed details surrounding the story. The online reaction was immediate. Some fans viewed the Instagram changes as a quiet but powerful message, believing they marked the end of the couple's relationship. Others urged caution, reminding everyone that social media rarely tells the full story. They argued that deleting photos doesn't always mean a relationship is beyond repair, especially when another source had already suggested Jack and Margaret were still figuring things out. That contrast left fans divided between those convinced the marriage was over and those hoping reconciliation was still possible. As debate continued to grow, attention shifted away from social media and toward the challenges the couple had reportedly been facing behind closed doors. If the reports were accurate, their relationship wasn't undone by one single event. Instead, insiders claimed it had been shaped by months of demanding schedules, constant travel, and the pressure that comes with balancing two successful careers. And that may have been the biggest challenge of all. But behind the headlines, the missing Instagram photos, and the endless online theories, reports suggest the real challenges may have been far less dramatic and far more relatable. According to sources quoted by entertainment outlets, the biggest obstacle wasn't one explosive event. Instead, it was the slow pressure of two incredibly demanding careers pulling them in different directions. One insider described the relationship as rocky, claiming that Jack Antonoff and Margaret Qualley had been arguing more frequently in recent months. The source suggested their schedules had become increasingly difficult to balance. Jack's life revolves around the music industry, where late nights in the recording studio, producing albums, touring with Bleachers, and collaborating with major artists often leave little room for a predictable routine. Margaret, meanwhile, has been building an impressive acting career, moving from one film project to the next with long periods spent on set or traveling for productions. According to the report, finding uninterrupted time together had reportedly become a growing challenge. For many fans, that explanation sounded believable. Hollywood has seen countless relationships tested by distance, conflicting schedules, and the constant demands of the entertainment industry. Even couples who appear inseparable in public can struggle to maintain a sense of normal life when both careers require non-stop travel and long hours. Of course, only Jack and Margaret truly know what happened behind closed doors, and the reported challenges remain based on unnamed sources rather than public statements from either of them. Interestingly, not every report painted such a bleak picture. While one source described ongoing difficulties, another insisted the couple was still figuring things out. That single phrase gave many fans hope that the situation might not be as final as the headlines suggested. Some wondered whether the pair were simply taking time apart, while others believed they could eventually find their way back to each other. Until either Jack or Margaret speaks publicly, those possibilities remain just that, possibilities. Regardless of what the future holds, one thing is undeniable: their relationship meant a great deal to fans who had watched it unfold over the years. Before the breakup reports and the speculation, there was a love story that many people genuinely admired. And looking back at how it all began makes the current headlines feel even more emotional. But before the headlines, the rumors, and the questions about their future, there was a love story that captured the hearts of fans across Hollywood. That's why the recent reports have been so difficult for many people to process. For those who followed Jack Antonoff and Margaret Qualley's relationship from the beginning, it's impossible not to look back at how quickly their romance blossomed, and how hopeful everything once seemed. Their story first began making headlines in August 2021, when the pair were spotted sharing a kiss during an ice cream outing in New York City. At the time, neither of them said much publicly about the relationship, but the photos were enough to spark widespread curiosity. Almost overnight, fans began wondering whether one of music's most respected producers had found love with one of Hollywood's fastest-rising actresses. As the months passed, their relationship became more public. In March 2022, they made their official red carpet debut together at the Critics' Choice Awards, confirming what fans had already suspected. Just a few months later, Margaret was photographed at the Cannes Film Festival wearing a ring that immediately fueled engagement rumors. Although the couple chose to keep many details of their private life away from the spotlight, their quiet approach only made fans admire them even more. They appeared supportive of each other's careers while avoiding the constant public attention that often surrounds celebrity couples. When they eventually married in 2023, many believed they had become one of Hollywood's strongest creative partnerships. Jack continued producing music for some of the industry's biggest stars, while Margaret's acting career reached new heights with acclaimed film and television roles. Even with demanding schedules, they often spoke warmly about one another in interviews, giving fans the impression that they had found a balance between fame and personal happiness. Looking back now, those moments carry a different emotional weight. Photos that once symbolized the beginning of a promising future are now being revisited through the lens of today's separation reports. For longtime supporters, that's perhaps the saddest part of the story, not because every relationship lasts forever, but because so many people genuinely believed this one would. Still, the final chapter may not have been written yet. With one source saying the relationship was rocky, and another insisting they're still figuring things out, there remains an unanswered question at the center of it all. Is this truly the end of Jack Antonoff and Margaret Qualley's love story, or simply another unexpected twist in a relationship that has always valued privacy over public explanation? Only time will reveal the answer. As of now, the biggest questions surrounding Jack Antonoff and Margaret Qualley's relationship remain unanswered. Reports have described the marriage as going through a difficult period, fans have pointed to a series of public clues, and social media has been filled with theories about what may have happened behind closed doors. But despite all the headlines, neither Jack nor Margaret has publicly shared their side of the story. Until they do, much of the conversation beyond the reported facts remains speculation. What makes this story resonate with so many people is that it isn't just about two celebrities. It's about a couple who appeared deeply supportive of one another, built successful careers side by side, and inspired fans with a relationship that seemed refreshingly private in an industry known for constant public attention. That's why the recent reports have struck such an emotional chord. People aren't simply reacting to another Hollywood headline, they're watching a love story they admired enter an uncertain chapter. Whether this separation becomes a permanent ending or simply a pause while they work through personal challenges is something only time will reveal. One new interview, one public appearance, or one statement from either of them could completely reshape the narrative. Until then, fans will continue looking for answers, while hoping that whatever happens next is the outcome that's best for both Jack and Margaret. Now we'd love to hear from you. Do you think the recent clues point to the end of their marriage, or could they still be finding their way back to each other? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy staying up to date with the biggest Hollywood stories, celebrity relationships, and entertainment news, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next breaking story.